Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Daggs. He's Gerald Smith. You just missed a nice dance. We were dancing while the logo screen was up, and you didn't get to see it. You got to be behind the scenes for that sort of special nonsense. But
for super chats,
for super chats, we'll dance again. Why do we do this to ourselves?
I don't know.
Anyway, behind the scenes is our production crew of Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes. We welcome you to week 6 of season 24 in the Simulation Football League. Gerald, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. Weeks go by, and now we are in week 6.
We are in week 6. We are indeed.
No drama for me. You know what's good? I have no drama, no team owner drama, no coach drama. Everybody else has it but me.
Yeah, you mentioned that last week too. You really
Yes.
just like rubbing that in.
Yeah, because I didn't lose.
You are undefeated. You are undefeated on the season. That's pretty impressive. All right, let's recap last week. We'll talk about it a little bit, and oh boy, $4.99 super chat. Get to jigging with it. All right, let's talk about last week, shall we, Gerald? We got last week in the house. All right, that's it. That's all you get for $5. But thanks for the super chat.
I'm here snapping like I'm crazy. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I don't know what just happened. That's gonna be probably clipped, and now I'm I don't really embarrass at all. So anyway, let's talk about what happened last week. What happened last week? Well, we've only got 2 teams that remain unbeaten. We've got 3 teams that remain winless. We had some more shutouts. I mean, heck, our game of the week last week. Remember which one we picked?
I don't want to remember.
Queen City at Vancouver. Wow, $10 super chat from I think that's Israel Adams. Let's go. Let's go indeed. We'll dance later. Maybe we'll sing. All right, we're already like $85 away from having to sing a song. There were some blowouts. 47-0 that Vancouver Queen City game. Florida beating Nashville. Florida didn't even have Ron Cochran, and they beat Nashville tempo 23-0. There were some others that were just high scoring games too. Los Angeles put up 26 over Oklahoma City. You only put up 3. There were some close competitive games too, but still some teams waiting for their first win, some teams waiting for their first loss. Unfortunately, it wasn't all fun and games last week. We also did have some heartbreaking news that is always difficult to share. Ibari Aman Eglin tragically passed away on February 1st. He's joining a heartbreakingly growing list of our SFL family who has left us all behind far too soon. Ibari joined the league back in October of 2022. He joined the Annapolis Navigators in SFLM, drafted 37th overall in the second round of the season 20 draft by the Carolina Skyhawks. This was his 5th season with the team. He's been in the league for 5 seasons, I should say, all of which have been with Carolina. He's described by his teammates as a great guy with a heart of gold, and he will be truly missed in the Carolina locker room and in the SFL server in general. He leaves behind a son and daughter and countless friends. Rest in peace, number 29. And thanks for joining us in a moment of silence. As you saw on the screen, 5 different people now that have all been part of the league. Some of them great friends of ours that we've known personally, one of which we named our whole show after, and we have his jersey right up here on the wall. The friendships that people make throughout their time here in the league, it's something that people that aren't part of it just don't understand, and they'll never be able to experience some of the things that we experience here in the league. Ibari, I didn't know him very well, and now that pains me because there's people that saw some of the folks up there on the screen. Rich Pratchard and Matt Willson both passed away before Ibari even joined the league. He didn't know either of them, but just another unfortunate reminder to everybody to cherish every moment that you have, and enjoy the friendships that you make and try to make the most out of every moment. Great group of guys, all gone far too soon.
Yeah, and that's why I think like the SFL convention is something that is quite amazing to me, because you get to meet these people in person if you're fortunate enough to attend. And if not, like
Yeah.
like you said, hey, just getting to know them as a teammate, as a fellow member of the league, it's something that this environment that we're all be able to come in. I've created, like you and I,
Yeah.
really good friends now. Got really good friends.
Yeah.
We do this show together now because of it.
Met
So
met in this league, and that's it.
right. So and that's the thing. So and it's just something that just brings a lot of people together. And
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate we're losing so many friends too soon.
Close to our age too. Some younger. I don't like it, man.
Yeah, me
It's
neither.
not good stuff. But if there's one thing that I do know that all 5 of those guys would want us all to do as a community is keep on going forward and keep the league going, keep these games going. So with that, in honor of them, let's just keep surging right ahead. And let's get into the week 6 schedule, shall we? We've got a few games for you tonight, which is great to see. Love a whole bunch of Friday night action. So let's take a look at that schedule. At 8 p.m., we've got the Fort Worth Toros at the Houston Headhunters. Gerald and I will be on the call with that one, 8:15. So we've got 2 games here in that 8 o'clock block. We've got Sin City at Vancouver with Cameron Duty and Alex West. Then a couple more later on that night. Indianapolis at Denver, Chris Curtis and Tyler Falk. And at 10:30, we've got Los Angeles at Bossier City. Michael Trillo in the house and Eric Vincent on analysis. That's always a fun little grouping there.
Yeah, sure is. Look, at Eric Vincent, he's one of the few guys who can do both analysis
Good
and
multitasker.
play-by-play really, really well.
Can drink Jack Daniels
like nobody's business.
and call games. Good old Hiccups himself. And see, if you don't know what I'm talking about, got to go to convention.
Got to go to convention.
Got to go. So we got a few games on Saturday as well. Florida at Carolina with Colin and Rick Northrup. That's the game that we picked this week as our game of the week. We'll break that one down in some detail in just a little bit. At 6:45, we've got Queen City at Baltimore. That's our honorable mention for game of the week. Queen City did just get blown out on the road, but they're still 3-2. Baltimore's 3-2. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Ramos Lynn, Mike O'Neill on the call. So at 9 p.m., we've got DC at Atlanta, 3-1 DC, at 1-3 Atlanta. Cameron Duty and Rochelle Colston together on that one. And at 9:15, we've got Pittsburgh at Lexington with Jacob Clear and DJ Kilgannon. Fast forward to Sunday. We've only got a pair of games, and then you all could just take the evening off and do nothing. It's really an uneventful evening overall, but the early afternoon is going to be absolutely epic. We've got the Charleston Predators at the Mexico City Aztecs. Eric Vincent on his second call of the week, along with Mickey Malillo in the booth for that one. And then look at this, Gerald, at 1:15 p.m., the O has got to go. 0-5 Nashville, 0-5 Chicago. One of those 2 teams that still is waiting for their first win will finally get it, no matter what, no matter how you slice the cake. Ethan Muslin and Alden Bleeker will break that one down for us live on the air, tell us who's going to ultimately get the win. And then the Monday Night Spectacular after this week in the SFL. On Monday night at 8:15, we've got Albuquerque at Minnesota. Minnesota at 2-2. I still say that's deceptive. They're better than 2-2. Albuquerque at 4-1 is fantastic for them. Cameron Irvine and Charles Doherty get that call.
Yeah, look, and we got the 0-5 teams going at it, which I think is an honorable mention, and I don't mean it's in the meanest way possible, but it's at this stage they're both 0-5. It's almost like the toilet bowl, but it means a lot
so
more.
I don't mean this mean, but I'm gonna be
it
mean.
means a lot more to both these teams than that. So I just say it because on the optics, that's just what it is.
It is.
But look, the Monday night game's going to be it's going to be a hard hitting one as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. So, all right, well, why don't we talk about the one that we just picked as our game of the week? 4-1 Florida at 3-2 Carolina. It's a battle for the top spot in the East Division, as it stands here, ultimately through 6 weeks. Carolina, they went into last week. They were tied for Florida with that top spot, but then they suffered a loss to Charleston, putting them at 3-2. Florida was without quarterback Ron Cochran last week, but not only did they beat Nashville, they shut them out. Nashville now currently still sits winless, like we talked about. Maybe they can get their first win this weekend over Chicago. Cochran is actually out again for his 2nd straight week. But this time going up against a much stronger opponent in Carolina. The winner of this one will take the lead in the East and will hold that head-to-head tiebreaker the rest of the way. So it's going to be a big game no matter how you look at it. Final divisional game for Florida. Carolina still has Atlanta coming up in week 12. Then all those divisional games will be behind both of these teams. The rest of the East currently sits at a combined 2-12 record. So it really looks like, even though it's still early, it looks like the division is going to come down to one of these 2 teams in this game, and this game could decide a lot of that if they end up having a tied record at the end of the season.
Right.
Whoever gets the win tonight. might get that win. Both of these teams are pretty evenly matched. I'm sure you'll talk about that. They're middle of the road, many stats categories. Both teams have solid players on both sides of the ball. You got Beletsky versus Komisak, or excuse me, Beletsky and Komisak versus Quintero and Prasad. You've got Vandelay versus Curtis. You've got Mississippi versus Stinson. You've got Wright versus Ryan. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah, look, and you're right. These two teams at this stage right now, the way that the East is shaping out, seems like this is going to be one of these important games as the season matures, right? But Florida just continues to do Florida things, and that is just win.
They win.
They've done it for so long, and they continue to do it. And they had their most dominant performance last week with the shutout against a bad Nashville team, right? I think everybody can say that without Ron Cochran.
Yeah.
They did it
Who
with
needs
a backup
Riverboat Ron, huh?
right? So, look, and the offense of Florida, right, has been solid and are well in the top half of the league in all statistical categories, as you mentioned before, and boasts the number 7 best scoring offense in the league, scoring 23 points a game. And it's because of players like their fullback, Chris Komisak, who has had a great start to the season, and he leads the team in rushing right now and averaging 4.5 yards per carry, with Bullet Beletsky contributing on his own another 3.5 yards per carry with him. You know what I mean? So, and it's kind of, weird to say an MVP type player like Bullet Beletsky was at one time.
Yeah.
That he seemingly has taken a back seat
like a supporting
to the fullback right now.
I know.
Look, and they're not far off in yards, but it's kind of telling how the offense is going, right? Because Komisak, they like the things he can do on the ground, and he's doing it at 4.5 yards a clip. Beletsky, like I said, 3.5. But that's also, let's also mention the other one who runs the ball, which is wide receiver Art Vandelay, getting carries as well. So, and he's also in the top 5 in all receiving statistical categories. He has been an X-factor player since we saw him have a breakout game in a championship game to beat a Canton team.
Yeah.
After that, they realized, hey, look, let's unlock some potential from him. And like I said, quarterback Ron Cochran set out last week, and he is one of the best right now in the league, and he's sitting out again this week as well. He's number 3 in completion percentage and number 6 in QBR, but they don't have him. So how are they going to respond against a much better team now that they're playing? They are, even without Ron Cochran, a pretty well-rounded offense.
Yeah, they really are. And it's good that they have that well-rounded offense, even without Ron Cochran, because the defense is where Carolina can look to try to take advantage of them. The defense has not been up to snuff with where they've been in recent seasons. Usually they're pretty solid, and right now it's like, what's going on?
And look, in the last 3 seasons, they have had a top 5 total defense in season 21, ranked 1st. Season 22, ranked 4th. Season 23, last season, 5th in the league in overall defense, right? Look, this season, they are 17th overall defense through 5 weeks. They have not played to the potential that we've seen in the past, but they still sit at 4-1. And why is that? It's because they know how to make stops when they need it, right? They still pressure the quarterback well, coming in 4th in sacks, across the whole league. So they are still able to get that pressure that they, need to get to force the opposing team into bad situations. But they haven't forced the turnovers as they have in the past. I think they might have an issue with an offense that can be a little bit more explosive, but we're just got to see.
We will see, and it's going to be interesting to see how Carolina rebounds, obviously, off of the devastating news that they had. I know it's tough to game plan after news like that. I've been through that sort of situation, and it's just it's impossible. But they have a big game coming up, and like I said, Ibari, he's going to want them to keep on going. He's going to want them to win. He's going to want them to shake it off for right now, because there's a game to win. He's going to want to, he would want them to win for his teammates. Just talk about Carolina. I know it's always been a team that, has kind of been, on and off again for your relationship status with them.
Me and Carolina's relationship is just like an on and off again girlfriend, right? We love, we hate each other and everything else. Look, but I don't mean any disrespect in what I'm about to say. But they don't look particularly well when they win. They don't look really good at all, and they look downright bad when they lose. So look, I fully, expected them to have the upper hand last week against a winless Charleston team, but they completely fell flat, and
Yeah.
they just did not look good at all. The defense had coverage issues. They allowed, tight end Xavier Solomon to just run right down the middle of the field, along with, Doug Britton, to do what they wanted to do, against that defense, and they could not do anything, to stop them. And then they turn around and they turn the ball over way too many times. It's a former MVP quarterback, Marcus Dunhill. I mean, you would think they would have something figured out with him because they have loads of talent on offense that they have, right? They just haven't done it. And he's among the league's worst with 9 interceptions after the 5 games that they have. The run game only averaged 1.6 yards a carry last week. And that's not any way to win a game.
Right.
But Carolina has had, this is a positive for you guys.
Yes.
Carolina has had Florida's number in recent season winnings. 2 of the last 3 games against them. They've kind of, risen up to the challenge when playing Florida. So this might be another one of those things, because if they win here, they put themselves, actually, they had the tiebreaker at that point.
For sure.
Right in the lead in the East.
Yeah, it's something about divisional games, right? I mean, those divisional opponents,
we saw it last week.
You just know those teams, and it's always a crazy game. I like Damon's comment. Anytime somebody says, I mean no disrespect, they mean the disrespect. And I think he's right. I think he's 100% right.
Well, I'm not hiding.
I'm
not hiding from it. I disrespect them. I love them. I hate them. And they can love and hate me too. It's okay.
They can. Harish Prasad saying we are also at home. That home field advantage, that hometown crowd always does seem to help. I think 7 out of the 10 games last week, 7 of those winners were the home teams. So, Carolina, they'll be at home, and I'm sure they'll be honoring Ibari in as many ways as they possibly can. And I hate to be Florida in that situation.
Yeah, so that's what I say. And what a week for them to play inspired football, especially in recent seasons. They played really well against Florida, and they have that extra motivation to come in here at home and take on, the division leader and actually take over the lead themselves.
Our pick for game of the week, 4-1 Florida at 3-2 Carolina. That game on Saturday. Looking forward to that one. All right, so who stuck out to us all last week? Who is our offensive player and our defensive player spotlight of the week for me on offense for the 3rd straight week? And I swear I'm not going to do this every week. But these guys are playing lights out football. But don't shake your head.
You just waited for Jordan Sipe to be
Jordan Sipe. No, it ain't Jordan Sipe. We had to talk after last week's game. For the 3rd straight week, I am going with a quarterback, Vancouver quarterback, Christian Brown. Let's see those stats. Went 30 of 40, 75% completion percentage, 426 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 134 QBR. Gerald, he averaged 14.2 yards per freaking completion. It was ridiculous. Look at these, just some examples of what he did. All 5 different Vancouver receivers caught a pass. He also used his legs, like you see there. 8 rushes for 27 yards, so he was getting it done through the air and on the ground. He had all kinds of touchdowns. Here's one, a little short dump down, but he got it into the end zone. Touchdown swing out to the right. He also sent him deep over the middle, 13-yard touchdown pass straight over the middle right there. And he also had a 19-yard touchdown pass late in the 4th quarter. Just an absolutely fantastic player in not only this game, but the whole season so far. He is playing at an all-star level this season. He's now number 3 in completions, number 4 in yards, number 1 in completion percentage, and he only has 3 interceptions on the season. How many different quarterbacks? Look at his stats just right there at the end of the game. He actually threw one more pass after that, and it was incomplete. But
shame on him.
You had great numbers. What are you doing? Currently on the season now, 81 of 122, 1,093 yards, and that's just through 5 games. 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's got a 98.2 quarterback rating. That's 3rd best in the league. Just playing lights out football. Like I said, he's currently playing at that all-star level. 9th season now in the league. He's only about 1,500 yards away from 30,000 on his career. It's quite the major milestone, and I'm sure he doesn't hit it, he's going to come pretty close. Again, we're only through 5 games. There's still 7 more to be played. 1,500 yards, very doable. But get this. I'm looking at – I see his game. I'm like, offensive player of the week right there. So I start pulling up the stats to be able to talk about the guy, and I'm like, all right, let's see how many all-star games he's had in the past 9 seasons. 0. Oh, well, that's weird. How many end-of-season awards has he gotten? 0. This is going to be the season that changes that. I think we're going to see some sort of end-of-season award or at least an all-star appearance for Christian Brown. Played one heck of a football game last week, and I think that's going to continue throughout the season.
Yeah, look, and I couldn't agree more, right? The way that, the Vancouver offense is looking like vintage Vancouver, being able to take over games and actually put up a ton of points and everything else, and they're doing it right here with him. He's been on the team for a little bit now, so it seems like they're finding their footing. They find a system and players that work for them and getting that all back together. It seems like Vancouver, lookout league. Like, it's
for sure. For sure. They're on fire.
I'm glad I left.
All right. Well, why don't we get into the defense?
So, look, my defensive player spotlight is going to be Indianapolis Ramblers cornerback number 27, King Rashid.
The King.
So, and as you're going to see his stats here, him having 8 tackles, 2 assists, 2 interceptions, 1 which was a pick 6, and 2 pass defenses, right? So, and you're going to see right here what he does. He starts off right here. He starts showing him being able to recognize, what the offense is doing to him and being able to step there, keeping an eye on the quarterback and making plays on the ball right here. And what we're going to see here, what kind of a play he does. He actually is in coverage on a different receiver and actually comes off and picks it off, right? Recognizing the play right there. And this is the game. This is the player here that turned this game around right here. Coming off again of another coverage and taking it, picking it off and running there. And that's number 27. And no, Eddie Gage, that is not you. He does something you can't do, which is get a pick 6. You are still pick 6-less Eddie Gage. But you can see right here the moves he made to get it and to take in the end zone. And what do we do right here? He does it again right here as far as getting his way of the pass and being able to knock it down. And not only can he coverage, right, and recognize, he actually has really good play recognition right here. Comes in off of a run blitz, recognize, come back in, and just lays out the running back for a very, very minimal gain right here. And he's showing Eddie Gage, I got one more than you, which is no pick 6s right there. So, look, and this guy right here has done great so far this season, and he's doing really, really good things. And you can see the way he played that game right there, how his progression is done, him coming in right
athletic.
Here.
Yeah, he's flying all over that field.
And it's very interesting. And you can tell how good a DB is when they're actually in coverage, right, on someone else, but still has such ball awareness, play awareness to be able to come off of coverage and actually pick a pass off. He did it twice last week, and he done that also in knocking some of the balls down in there. So that's why he has gotten my defensive player spotlight of the week, because he played it. And you know what? When, they're going to show the stuff, it better be him on as far as the streets are talking in terms of voting, because you want to know why? If anybody's going to keep him down, it's going to be Eddie Gage himself. May just eliminate him right off the ballot, because that's somebody that did something he cannot do. We're in the exact same number. I love you, Eddie, but you know what? He brought respect to the number 27.
Wow. Well, yeah, and Demond in the chat says, LOL, Eddie has been memed. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not the first time that particular Eddie graphic has made its way onto our show. It certainly won't be the last either.
No, definitely not.
We like to keep him relevant, I think is what you said.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to keep him relevant every chance I get.
Good old Eddie. Listen, as an offensive coordinator, one of the things that helps the offense the absolute most is when the defense gets that ball back for you and just gets you bonus possessions. It's tough to score against these SFL defenses. It's real tough. There's so many different drives that end in punts or at best a field goal. And field goals aren't going to win you games. Punts definitely aren't going to win you games. When you have a player like King Rashid running all over the field, swatting down passes, forcing fourth downs, forcing turnovers, and even better, getting you points.
Yes.
Listen, I've always said that my ask of Ramos is I need you to hold that defense or I need you to hold the opposing team to 0 points for me. And he laughs and thinks that I'm crazy. It's because it's true. Oh, he's going to leave the league. Eddie says he's going to leave. No, you're not going to leave.
He got a championship to get.
He loves being talked about. You know.
He does. He loves it.
You got to get yourself one of these.
I can see Eddie. He goes to bed saying, "Babe, they talked about me again.
They did.
I am so relevant,
and
living rent-free in their head.
Feeding him grapes.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Frozen grapes.
Once you get one of these, then you can leave the league. Not before. Your time is still coming. But, when that defense can not only hold the opposition to 0, but score points for you as well, that's just a coach's dream right there. King Rashid, congratulations. So let's talk about that Streets Are Talking community vote because don't you roll your eyes. There's something that's not up here yet. All right, listen. First off, Week 5 fan voting. There was 69 total responses. Shout out Harish Prasad for cutting off voting at that point. I'm sure he had something to do with it.
He sure did.
I guarantee you he did. And so on offense, who did the community vote for? With 30 of those 69 votes, we had quarterback Christian Brown coming in from the community, agreeing with me. Honorable mentions to Indianapolis tight end Jimmy Went and Washington quarterback Tommy Utah, who both received votes coming in second and third. On defense, the community was split 23 votes each for Indianapolis cornerback King Rashid and Albuquerque cornerback Daniel Valentine. However, you did not vote on the Streets Are Talking community vote. Therefore, your vote is the tie-breaking vote, and this is official, too. I already talked to Brett. Oh, yeah. I don't know what the hell that was, but I already talked to Brett Solberg about it, and yes, sir, you get that 24th vote.
Yes.
Therefore, King Rashid is the Streets Are Talking community vote player of the week as well.
We did it.
We did something, I guess. I don't really know what, but we did.
Nice.
Whatever it was. So
I was sitting there thinking about yourself. I'm like, I should have voted.
You should have voted. Your vote don't count if you don't do it. But we did check. You hadn't voted, so we let you slide in a late vote.
I'm voting next time.
All right, let's talk about the game coming up next. He'll forget. Who do we got coming up next, Gerald? We got 2-2 Fort Worth at 3-2 Houston. It's going to be a great game. Why? Because it's a South Division battle. The always contentious South Division. It's likely going to get shuffled around in the standings throughout the rest of the season. These teams are all pretty close together. Not much separates the top team from the bottom team. The top 2 teams in the division right now only have 1 loss. The rest only have 2. And these 2 teams are 2 of those 2 lost teams. One of them is going to get served up with their 3rd loss of the season tonight. It's been an up-and-down season for both of these teams so far. They've won some close ones. They've lost some close ones. They've won convincingly. They've lost by multiple scores, both of them. You know, statistically, Houston has performed better than Fort Worth this season. But if you look at the opponents that they've beat, they're a combined 2-12. So not to discount Houston's wins, they beat my team. I mean, that's something.
So you can say discount, and it's a lot less impactful than disrespect.
That's what's up.
Okay.
Not to discount it. No, I don't mean any disrespect, Amon, but your opponents are 2-12. The 2 winless teams and a 3-point win over Mexico City is the wins that they have had. So their offense is playing really well. There's multiple players playing at an all-star level. And defensively, they've got a linebacker who leads the league in picks. Not for linebackers. He leads the league in picks, period. Absolutely crazy. Fort Worth, they're also playing good football, only 2 points away from being 3-2. They seem to be getting things figured out with their new quarterback, Eric Price, at the helm. Fort Worth knows how to win in Houston as well. They've won 4 out of the 7 visits to Houston down here. But with Houston playing red hot, do they have what it takes to get it done tonight?
Well, and it's this division, and it's part of it, despite what I may say otherwise.
Yeah.
This division, how competitive is the reason why I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's just a beat 'em up.
Force you out
each and every week, and it's only got even more competition in there with the other teams that actually joined it in now. So, but look,
I know. Thanks for allowing Albuquerque in the division.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
They have 4-1. So look,
listen,
I had to get out.
Demand, we could always count on a win over Louisiana.
Almost. Well, I don't think I won a division game the whole time I was in there. But look. Fort Worth, right? They're coming off a huge win against Mexico City, and look, did you get? Oh, dang!
Why's he got to do that?
Wow, he hit you hard.
Continue. We're not reading that. Hey, super chat. Ignore that.
So look, where Fort Worth overcame a 10-0 deficit against Mexico City and scored 19 unanswered points to secure the win. Fort Worth's offense has been pretty consistent, and they're ranking 9th in the SFL in rushing behind running backs Jet Zero and J.C. Bacon. Now, Jet Zero is a running back that a lot of people might not know. He was pretty dominant in his days in Queen City, right? Until they started kind of losing momentum there. But here he is. He's come to Fort Worth, and they've actually recaptured some of his old type of style. And quarterback Eric Price has also played very well, number 7 in completion percentage and 8th in the league in QBR. Price's favorite targets are the very young wide receiver Henry McGee, the speedster, and the old vet Stephen Hacker, who runs around with no gloves. I love it. He just got tapes on the fingers.
That's it.
Who both have had a great start to the season. Look, the offensive unit scores just under 23 points a game and is top 10 in converting third downs into first downs. Last week showed that they can also ground out a win against tough talent. They beat the champions last week. If they can keep this up, the South Division could start to be a really, really tight race.
It is going to be a tight race. Let me just respond to our producer's comments. Virtual Football Network in the chat. Let's check the standings in Week 12. Book it now. I'm saying let's check the standings in Week 12. Anyway, let's talk about Fort Worth's defense. Defensive unit, pretty solid. That's a Toro norm. Talk about them.
Yeah, look, and they are the league's best in interceptions with, interceptions for touchdowns, and they have 3 pick sixes in just 4 games. But they are struggling with getting pressure on the opposing quarterback. They only have 2 sacks on the season. Tight end Jeff Duffy and the Gons, that includes Jerry D and Luther up front. They had a combined 19.5 sacks last season. Collectively, this season, they have 1
sack.
So for me, it's like not overly concerning, right? Because they played 4 games, but it could become concerning if they play tough teams like this Houston team right here.
It's going to be
where they're going to need that to be able to, force Houston into situations that, Houston doesn't want to be in. So it's going to be telling right here. I think we're going to find out up next and see how their defense is going to shape up against a very good offense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a really tough game. I mean, they're in Houston. Houston's playing red hot. I have to address Cam once again because he thinks he's witty, saying, "Oh, there's 15 weeks of regular season action." I'm aware. I don't need all 15 weeks. I said, let's check the standings in Week 12. Anyway, let's talk about Houston.
I'm going to write that down. Week 12, see where they sit.
We will. Hosted by Penny with it. Aren't you the host, Cam? Anyway, why don't you talk about...
So, look, Houston, look, this team has they have a great defense, right? And a great offense despite their performance last week. They didn't look very good last week. Their offense is top 10 across the board. They are 4th in rush offense, 5th in pass offense, which amounts to the 4th best total offense in the league. Running back Josh Slapp is the league's leading rusher. And also one of my favorite players in the SFLs who they also have in the Lakeman himself, John Lakeman, is having a great start to the season. He is 3rd in passing yards in the SFLs, and he's throwing passes to vets like, Greg Corky, who has 4 TDs, which is receiving TDs, number 1 in the SFL, and Mike St. Green being the top pass catchers for this offense. They are dangerous both in their run game and their pass game, and defensively, they have been extremely good, and they play the run extremely well and live in the backfield with 46 TFLs, which is 2nd best in the league.
Which is crazy that's only 2nd highest.
Dude, and it is. Like, and you got, if you sit there and do the math, they've played 5 games.
Yeah.
46.
Yeah.
That's almost 10 TFLs a game is what they're amounting to.
Yep.
Look, and not to mention the league leader in interceptions,
Mr. Peace,
linebacker Jason Peace, who has 5, who is leading one of the best defenses in the league right now. And I do think Fort Worth has a tough task ahead of them with the way this defense plays and the way the offense can put up points and just move down the field almost at will in the passing game and also the rushing game. So we're going to see how it's going to fare out. It's going to be a slobber knocker of a game later on.
That's the word of the day, Schlabberknocker.
Schlabberknocker.
We'll bring that up in the broadcast, too, somehow. Cam's still thinking he's funny. He says he's trying to derail the show so that he can win his $10 going over bet. He's so adorable. He thinks we're going to go over on time. We haven't gone over on time once this season.
Yeah, no.
We're spot on. I could even just stand here and keep having a conversation about not going over.
If Cam lines in my pocket, I can be absolutely sure we are.
Anyway, Fort Worth at Houston coming up next. But first, we are going to make our picks, and then we'll get into the game. Looking forward to this Schlabberknocker of a game. I did definitely just poke the beehive. I think I may have just swatted the beehive.
Yeah, you did.
I have seen every South Division team commenting in the chat after I said, let's check the standings in Week 12. So I said what I said. Let's see what happens.
Glad it ain't me. I get enough.
All right, let's get into our picks. Gerald, we were terrible once again. I only got 5 out of 10 right. You at least got 6 out of 10. The one game that we picked different is the only different in the standings that week. I am now 29 and 23. You are 30 and 22, so you have just over enough to have the lead. And hey, at least we both still have winning records. So you know, we're not that bad. We're just
I'm not that bad. You're less than me. So there's a 2-way race. You're last. You're not only last in the South. You're last in picks. What we're doing right now.
Cam asking we should check these standings at Week 12 as well. Yeah, probably. Yes. All right, let's listen. We can't go over because now I've just been running my mouth about that too. I can't. It scrolled away, but somebody said I was being sassy tonight. Yes, yes, I am. Wait for the game.
His feelings are hurt. He lost 2 in a row.
I did. I will not be losing 3. I'm sorry, Charleston. Sin City at Vancouver. Who do you got?
All right, so I know Vancouver has been flying all over the place and everything, but Sin City seems like they brought something together. I'm taking the upset right here. I think they hand Vancouver their first loss of the season going into Vancouver. I think they're starting to find their footing, and they're playing a lot better than what we've seen them early on in the season. I do think they win in a very tight game in Vancouver.
I think you are insane. I think Vancouver and Christian Brown are going to keep just throwing points on the board, literally and figuratively, in just droves. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be another Vancouver blowout. I think Vancouver gets the win. Indianapolis at Denver.
And this was one of the harder ones to pick this week because, look, Denver looks good at times, but it seems like they actually struggle against better talent.
Yeah.
I think Indianapolis, after a slow start, they have picked it up, and they played really, really well last week against a very good Bossier City team. So I do think that Indianapolis goes into Denver on the road and wins another game right here and trying to, prove to the league that, hey, look, we're not the Chad Rowland Ramblers, right? We keep the motor running. There's no check engine light on. We can go in there and beat Denver. I think Indy takes it.
$5 super chat from Jeff Banfield says, great job, boys. Thanks for everything. And we are only $80 away, $80.01 from singing the song of your choice. Just saying.
Yeah,
Los Angeles. Oh, so I didn't make my pick yet. Denver. I think Denver's going to get the win. They're back home. They're going to shake off the recent losses, and I think they are going to get back in the win column. Los Angeles at Bossier City.
See, just when I started acknowledging Bossier City as an official team in Louisiana, Indianapolis beat them. So I can't just and that's like it just bothers me. Like, I believe in you, and you let me down. But guess what? They're back at home, and I do believe that a team led by Johnny Pickle like that, he's not going to have a repeat performance like last week, throwing all those interceptions. He is going to come back and be able to rebound himself, and he's playing against the L.A. team, and Rochelle, she knows I love her, and she knows I love the Lycans, but I just don't think they have enough to go into Bossier City and win.
I would agree with everything that you just said, and I am also picking Bossier City for that reason. I think that Bossier City is just proving to be too tough of an opponent right now. I think last week was something of a fluke, and I think they rebound, especially being at home. Israel back in the chat with a $10 super chat, so we're only $70 away now. Mike, it doesn't matter what you think, stone cold. And that's true. Literally nothing that we say on this show really has any bearing on any, except for our segment on Ibar Yaman Eglet. No. Not even anything you say. None of it matters. It's all nonsense. It's all drivel. Check the standings in Week 12. I mean, Mexico City will be number 1. But anyway, let's move on. Florida at Carolina. Who do you got?
Okay, so Carolina, look, you're going to thank me for this if you win, right? But we're still going to be broken up if you lose. So I'm taking Florida right here, even despite them not having Ron Cochran for the second week in a row. They proved last week that they can still win without their quarterback. Carolina gets a little bit shaky, right, sometimes. So, and I don't know what to expect from them from one week to the next. But look, if they play inspired football like we think they might, I think it might be a tough game. But I do think that Florida pulls it out in a tight game. I think they pull it out.
I don't. I think Carolina they're back home. They've got a lot to play for this week. Again, an impossible week of game prep. But this is a team that they've prepped for before, and they know this team inside and out. Ron Cochran not being there and pitching a shutout against Nashville, he ain't doing that 2 weeks in a row. I'm sorry. I don't think so. I think Carolina gets the win at home over Florida. Queen City at Baltimore.
Man, I love what Queen City is doing. They scrapping, they're clawing, and they're getting themselves back in there, and they have a winning record at the moment.
They do.
But they're playing Baltimore.
Yeah.
And you know what? Last time I picked a team that was on paper the favorite, Queen City says, we're going to come back and we're going to beat them. And guess what? It might happen this week, but I don't think so. I'm taking Baltimore. Baltimore, I think, is too strong to allow something like that to happen, so I'm taking Baltimore this week.
I am as well. I'm also taking Baltimore. Baltimore at home, always a tough team to beat as is. Queen City just put up a grand total of 0 points last week against Vancouver. Baltimore is another team that plays at Vancouver's level. If you couldn't score against Vancouver on the road, I don't know how you're going to score against Baltimore on the road. I don't think they're going to get shut out again, but I also don't think they're going to get the win. DC at Atlanta.
So on paper, we're going to call it's like the bugs versus the beasts. But you know what? Like, can a bug beat a beast? I think they can.
Is this how you make your picks?
I think they can.
You're looking at the mascots?
I think the bugs are going to actually rise up, do a whole lot of stinging, maybe to get a punch up and they can beat the beast and knock them down. I don't know. But I do think they find a way to get it done against DC. Atlanta wins it at home.
I'm going to go with the road team this time. I think a dragon could easily step on a bee and kill it.
If they can see it.
You just breathe fire in a general direction, and you're still going to get it. You want to cover semantics here. I mean, a dragon can beat a bee all the time.
Maybe.
I think DC's going to get the win. They're playing great football right now. Atlanta, they've only got one win. They're really kind of struggling to get in that win column, and I don't think this is going to be the game to do it. I think DC gets the win. Pittsburgh at Lexington.
Man, this is so hard. You know, I love one of these teams right here, and I love Pittsburgh. Lexington looks really impressive, but then they kind of, have a little bit of hiccup every once in a while. But I have to go with Pittsburgh. I'm taking the, upset pick right here. I love Pittsburgh. I love some of the things that they've done. I think they have it in place to do it. And I do think I think they're going to catch Lexington sleeping. And, Lexington is doing something. They're going to overlook them. And I think Pittsburgh wins it. I think they end up going into Lexington and being able to pull it out.
This was a tough one for me to pick as well. Both of these teams pretty evenly matched. But I like what Lexington's doing. And I think just on paper, if you have two teams that are very similar, that home field advantage might give them the edge. I'm going with Lexington. Charleston at Mexico City.
Look, and my pick here was solely based on I have to will them into the win column once again. Mexico City, I'm trying to will you into the win. You made me look bad last week. I picked you, and then you let me down, Mike.
I did.
Ramos and everybody in the championship team that from last season. But I do think you guys have the necessary tools. You're more put together than everything else. I think Charleston played a team last week in Carolina that just was a little bit out of sorts, and they got in there. They came in at the right time, but I think Mexico City wins it.
I'm picking the Aztecs because I'm picking the Aztecs. Listen, we lost 2 weeks in a row. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So shame on me for losing 2 in a row. Ramos and I have been working all week long in every waking hour of the day that we have had. I think we are ready for this game. I think we get the win. Nashville at Chicago.
All right, this is going to be the one that I call the toilet bowl. This right here, I had to go a little bit different. Why? Because I cannot believe in Chicago at all. I think Nashville has a better defense to be able to stop the Chicago offense. That's why I'm picking Nashville this week on the road, going into the not bomb pop stadiums and being able to take them down. So you got, a couple of teams that are just fighting, scrapping back and forth, but I do think Nashville takes it.
So I looked at these teams, and I looked at the games they've played so far, and Chicago, I feel, has just been in the games more than Nashville has, but they just keep getting outscored. This week, I think they'll be in this game, and I don't think they'll be outscored. I think Chicago's going to get the win. Last one, Albuquerque at Minnesota.
This wasn't a hard pick for me. Minnesota isn't the 2-2 team that the record shows. Albuquerque struggles on the road. Minnesota is at home. Albuquerque is on the road. Minnesota wins it.
And I agree, spot on. I think Minnesota's going to get the win. I think they're better than 2-2. I really think that they should be 4-0, and that's even with them playing the Aztecs in week 1. I mean, they're a great squad, great roster, solid roster. Albuquerque's is as well, but I think Minnesota's going to pull this one out. That is all the time we have. We can't let our commissioner win $10. So thanks for joining us for the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. We'll get to that $5 super chat when I have more than 8 seconds on the clock. We'll see you for Fort Worth at Houston, just a couple minutes.